Good afternoon, Professor. This is Johnny Cardwell here, and this is my assignment for week 3. And today I'm going to be talking about 2 different dance styles. And the dance styles that I chose to discuss were jazz and ballet. Starting with jazz. The history of jazz, it origins back to Africa prior to the slaves coming to America, and it originated from African Americans in the 1800s to the mid-1900s. Until the mid-1950s, it was known as tap dancing because that's what you did when you danced to jazz, you tapped your feet. Some examples of jazz are like the dance styles or the cakewalk, the jitterbug, the black button, and the Charleston. Also, jazz is performed in shows like Chicago, and you can see it when people go on shows like So You Think You Can Dance. Jazz reached its peak and was most popular in the 50s, and it's often heard in New Orleans. When you think of jazz, you think of New Orleans. Now, the history of ballet. Ballet actually began during the Renaissance in 1500 in Italy. The dancers, at first, they would use masks, layers of costumes, and a lot of hair dresses, but that was hard for them to dance in, so eventually they toned it down a bit, and they wore lighter clothes, and they will always be seen in all white. They will be seen dancing in dancing shoes instead of the typical ballet shoes that we see today, and dancing on the toe actually became popular during the early part of the 19th century. So before then, they danced on foot. Back to jazz. Jazz is an upbeat kind of music. When you hear jazz, you want to snap your fingers, tap your feet, you want to dance around, and have fun with it. As stated, it is used on many Broadway shows, and some of the musicals where you can find jazz was Peter Pan, Fiddler on the Roof, and one of my favorites, West Side Story. And with jazz, there's a lot of improvisation. With ballet is more of a slow dance. A lot of people, they call it classical music. And with ballet, there is 5 positions. With the first position, your hair's all together and your toes are open. The second position, you opening your legs and your arms. For the third position, your heel is in front of your foot. The fourth position, your feet are parallel. In the fifth position, your feet are close together and the front heel touches the back of the foot. With both of the dances, line and repetition are used for them, and the repetition pattern is always similar to the theme. Sorry, that's my son. Rhythm, the dancers dance to the same rhythm, and they're always in sync with each other with both forms of dance. And there's usually partners with the dancing. With jazz dancing, there's a lot of partner dancing. There's a lot of hands-on. There's a lot of swinging around, dipping, clapping. And with ballet, that can be done as a solo dance. Or, like, if you go to a show, there's usually people in a line. Male or female can do both styles of the dancing. And both styles of dancing are very popular to this day. The reason that I chose to do jazz and ballet is because I feel like they're both opposite of each other. So while one is calm, the other is hype, and then there's 2 different types of music that's used for them. And I found that pretty interesting. And also, I am a fan of jazz, and as a child, I did ballet. So this was my podcast of the history of the dances, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.